So Lecrae went on the Breakfast Club to talk about his upcoming album Reconstruction, which they said earlier in the interview was like so good that it should be up for top album of the year. He's a Christian artist, so of course they're not going to do that to him. But they were talking about how phenomenal of a body of work his upcoming album is, and the topic of church hurt came into conversation. So I'm about to play out this clip, and then we'll discuss.
So interesting because I was just having a conversation with my good sister Debbie Brown yesterday, and she was talking about religious trauma, the trauma people have experienced from being in the church, right? Like, what is church hurt to you?
Church hurt is, when the people that you expect to serve you well, the people that you expect to become your family and love you well, let you down. But it happens everywhere, right? It's not just in the church. It could be, I remember when the game was crying because he thought hip hop was gonna be something that it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And it's like he was hip hop hurt. You know what I mean? People have expectations and the expectations ain't met. And I think the problem is we blame God. And that's not a God hurt, that's a people hurt. People let you down, God didn't. You know what I'm saying? So I think people turn their back on church because of that. And for me, man, I ain't getting sponsored by Chipotle, but I love Chipotle. They good. But certain Chipotles, they don't be seasoning that food right. It don't make me say I hate Chipotle. I'll never go to Chipotle again. I may not go to that one. Or I may not go when Buddy working behind, but I still love Chipotle. So I think that's what people do with God and with church. Like, oh, they had a terrible experience. I'm done with God. My mom, she grew up in a very religious world like that. She was done. She didn't raise me in church because she was like, they burnt me too bad. So, we had to work through that trauma with her. So I get it. Yeah.
For people that don't.
So, to me, I think that was a beautiful way of breaking it down. Chipotle. I used to love Chipotle. Like, I used to eat Chipotle, like, I'm not going to say religiously, but it was a very frequent thing. To the point where my best friend every year would Uber Eats me Chipotle across state lines. You know what I'm saying? He was in Georgia, I was in Texas. W. Justin West. But yeah, that's a beautiful illustration. It's like, yeah, just because one location or one person hurt you, that doesn't represent the overall body. Like Chipotle. Yeah, Chipotle is a really good franchise. But just because you had one bad meal or you have one bad location where they don't do the food right, that doesn't mean that all Chipotle is bad. No, that's not the case. And that's how we should look at God. That's how we should look at God. God is perfect, all right? Just because a couple of individuals messed you over, that does not mean that that's the entire church. That doesn't mean that that's God, all right? That just means that you just a couple of hurt people in the church who just so happens to have the title of Christian attached to their name. That's all that is. So, W. Lecrae for that. Now, the second part of this talks about how to go about how to develop relationship with people in discussing the faith instead of like criticizing and pointing. This is kind of like a solution to church hurt and how to deal with people who are like hypercritical in the church. Like how to build relationship with people so that you can talk to them versus just throwing down condemnations on them and what they did wrong or whatnot. And I think Lecrae did a beautiful job explaining this.
At the Kingdom Hall, that's actually what turned me off to it. Whether I realized that or not, but as I got older, I realized the reason I was turned off to it is when watching my father get disfellowshipped. My father needed help in that moment. He was dealing with substance abuse issues. And it's like, you don't disfellowship a man for that, and then they make you come to the Kingdom Hall, but nobody speaks to you, and they announce to the whole congregation, such and such has been disfellowshipped from the Kingdom Hall. I'm like, God.
So your pops is in there, and they just cancel them right then in front of everybody?
Nobody talks. Like, they don't talk to you when you're disfellowshipped.
And how you supposed to heal?
That's crazy.
Right.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Like,
crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't get that. When I was walking down the street yesterday, a dude on the block passed me the flyer, and he was a street preacher. And he ended up being a dope one, but a lot of times my issue with street preachers too is it's like, bro, you yelling at people, you condemning people.
Facts.
Like, you don't even know their names.
Right.
I got the one dude ran up on me as I was leaving a Wu-Tang concert, and he was like, Lecrae, what are you doing here? I was like, enjoying some music. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then he was blasting me and blasting people around him. So I walked up to this table and I'm like, bro, He was in an argument with another dude, and I said, yo, my man, what's your name? And the dude he was arguing with told me his name. I said, where you from? He told me where he's from. I said, word, man, you want to get together sometime, maybe get coffee and talk about what you believe? He's like, I'm down. I said, how about you try that, my guy? Instead of yelling at him and telling him he's going to hell.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But it's like, that's the stuff I can't fool with. Like, it's like, there ain't no relationship in that.
How do you mean?
See, chat. If you look throughout scripture, Jesus always established a relationship with the people that he talked to, unless he was talking to a crowd. Always. And then people were able to, like, you know, hear him, understand it. So if Jesus do that, what makes it okay for us to do that, to just scream and throw condemnation on people? No, you develop a relationship with them first, and then you talk about Christ. And then over time that trust is built, and then you can, you know, become like accountability partners with those people. Like, to me, that's how it should be done. To me, that's how it should be done. All right? Instructing love, instructing fellowship, construct and criticize in relationship. Not out of like coldness and short-sighted view, limited perspective, but from a godly sense of love, empathy, patience, and understanding. That's how you heal church hurt. That is how you heal church hurt. With love, patience, empathy, and understanding. And ultimately Christ, of course. That's at the center of it. So, that's how you heal from it, chat. That's how you heal from it. And that's why I loved his explanation of that. I loved his take on that. That's how I love his take on that. Because that's how it should be done. That is how it should be done. That boy Lecrae spitting.